Let's start.
Hello, sports fans.
Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it's so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by.
Now, here's JP.
All right, a hearty good morning from beautiful New Orleans here as we come to you. Hopefully everything is good here. Nick Geddes back in our Tampa studio. As I still have not been able to depart the Crescent City just yet, my friend. I'm still wallowing in the joy that was the FSU game the other night here in the Superdome. The Noles are back, baby, and the Bucs are getting ready to go to Dallas. The Rays have had a nice weekend, a nice long weekend of 3 out of 4 wins. The Gators were phenomenal in that what I thought was one of the better games of the entire weekend as they beat a Utah team that's going to be very, very good, will probably win the Pac-12. Very disappointing weekend for USF. That was not what we expected whatsoever. But lots to get to here at the JP Peterson Show. We thank you for jumping in here. We are brought to you by EmergingINV.com, Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's #1 private investigation agency. So a big welcome to you, Nick Geddes. I hope you had a good long weekend, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. I did have a great weekend because we had a full slate of college football. We had the Rays and the Yankees, which I know you weren't able to see much of, but it was a fantastic series. And then, of course, here we are 5 days away from Buccaneer football returning and 2 days from NFL returning. So this is a week you get excited for.
Yeah, we're going to touch on a lot of the different things from this past weekend, and then we'll get heavy into the Bucs. We'll hear from Todd Bowles. We'll hear from Tom Brady on his podcast last night, which I think was very interesting as well. And we got lots of sound for you. Mike Norvell on the big win and maybe some of his questionable decisions in that game. So we'll get to all of it here as we roll through the JP Peterson Show. And not a whole lot of news on the Bucs as we get ready to embark on this. By the way, I'll be headed to Dallas to cover that game. I'll be in the AT&T. What do they call it? Do they call it the AT&T still?
AT&T, yeah.
We just call it Jerry World, right? We call it by what it should be known as. It's Jerry World. So I'll be making the trip to Dallas this weekend to cover that for you guys as well. And here we are live in New Orleans. And we're going to get to the Bucs here in a second, but just a quick overview. You know, one of the big things that probably you couldn't see on TV, although I think from what I hear, FSU represented really well on TV. FSU, the football team looks like it's back, not in a championship way. We're not talking about that, but back on the road to recovery. But the fan base, holy shit, bro. This was 1999 all over again. This is the early aughts. This is 2013. FSU traveled to New Orleans. If you had any thoughts whatsoever that the fan base isn't behind Mike Norvell and this team, you're wrong. This was as strong a showing. I would say even in the Superdome, it was 50-50. And this is obviously LSU's backyard. Next year, I think they're playing a game in Orlando, I believe. But this was, FSU crowd, and I thought they played a huge role in the game as well. The Marching Chiefs were banging, and this was as good a college football atmosphere for a Florida State game as we've seen in quite some time. And the players really responded. I thought they dominated the game. I don't know how it looked on TV, but I looked up early in the fourth quarter, and FSU had double the yardage of LSU. Besides Jaden Daniels running for his life, that was about the only offense that I saw LSU had whatsoever. They could not run the football on FSU at all. I thought FSU did a great job of running the football on that big defensive line. There were some cheap shots from LSU, no question about that. The targeting on Jordan Travis was just unbelievable. That guy should be suspended for a few games. But I thought Johnny Wilson, the receiver, was fantastic. I mean, obviously the catch by Pookie Wilson, the one-hander in the back of the end zone, going to go down in history. But, you know, one of the things about the FSU is this, you know, Mike Norvell came to this university known for special teams, and special teams won that game. I mean, they weren't perfect. Obviously, they missed the return game wasn't great. They missed a field goal, a short field goal, 46-yard field goal. But the 2 blocks obviously led to the win. Norvell's handling of the fumble punt and then getting down to the 1-yard line was almost catastrophic. I mean, let's just be honest. And for a fan, I mean, the whole section, I'm sitting in the FSU section, and I mean, we went after that punt, you know, was dropped and the FSU gets on it. I mean, the game's over. The game is over. There's no way there should be any any comeback by LSU. And to call a pitch play on that particular play, to not take a knee and kick a field goal, do anything but what you did. And then you watch LSU come back down the field as FSU rushes 3 the entire time. My God, I could not stand that. And Jared Verse came up with a big sack in that final drive. I don't know how he did it. He going against 6 blockers, but that at the end of the game to see them score with 1 minute. And I got to ask you, because I couldn't hear the TV copy of it. What were they talking about at the end there? That the knee was down by the LSU player, and how FSU doesn't tackle him in bounds. I don't know that either. What were they talking about on the TV?
The rule, there's something about the rule with like the 10-second runoff, I believe, in that scenario. So I think that's what they were trying to figure out. And I think because he got the first down, that's what they were really trying to determine, if he got the first down. Because if he didn't get the first down, I think there would have been the runoff and the game would have been over, is the way I understood it.
Okay.
But because he got the first down, that stops the clock automatically, and they're able to run off a play. And then there was the other scenario, I think, too, where they could have had a chance where it would have been 1 second, right? And the second the whistle was blown, they would have to snap right away. That would basically
right, exactly. Because the clock runs once they spot the ball, right?
Yeah.
The clock runs once they spot the ball. So how are they going to get a playoff?
That's the
by
question.
rule, they shouldn't be able to get a playoff. That's what we were all talking about in the stands. We're like, well, once his knee is down, then, the clock is going to roll. And how much is, I guess, conceivably, if it's a second and a half that's actually left. But I don't know. That it seemed like, you want to blame the officials for that, but that gum, you got to tackle the guy in bounds. I mean, I don't know. That last minute and a half was absolute horror for FSU, because as big as this win is for them, can you imagine them losing this game? If you lose this game, I mean, everything you've worked for 2 years, I mean, it's not down the drain, but my God, you just pissed away a golden opportunity to get a huge win for your program on the road against a quality SEC opponent. I think by the end of the year, LSU is going to be quality. Man, that was. But they come up with the blocked extra point, and everybody's partying on Bourbon Street. And away we go.
Yeah, and I tell you, from a viewing standpoint, I mean, it felt like at points in that game, I felt you got probably the same kind of feeling there in the stands. Mike Norvell was almost like trying to lose the game.
Yeah.
What it came off as. I mean, you start with the pitch play at the 1 yard line. I think everybody's like, run a couple plays and kick a field goal, and there you go. That's it, right? Your defense, honestly, and you can go back to the drive before that. The roughing the passer penalty, which was stupid. I think it was Akeem who did it. They had LSU dead in the water at that point. And that roughing the passer penalty gave them life to go down and score that touchdown, if you recall. Yeah. And then on the final drive, how many times do we have to say it? The prevent defense doesn't prevent anything. It prevents nothing. And on the broadcast, I think whoever was the color guy, I think it might have been Orlovsky or someone like that.
It was Orlovsky, yeah.
Was screaming, like, why are they just giving them the boundary? Why are they giving them 10 to 15 yard out every single play? And Adam Fuller never changed. And that was almost their undoing.
Shades of the Jacksonville State game. I mean, you just can't play certain defenses in certain situations, especially if they're not working. For God's sakes, don't. This is where when the coordinators become cowards. It's like, oh, we got to have 8 guys back. We got to come rally and tackle because they feel like it's safe. No. But you're giving the quarterback, and not a great quarterback, all the time in the world. That's what he wants to do. He wants to sit back.
And you gave him the space, by the way.
Right.
You gave him all the running space, and I think as last check I looked, I don't even think they had 50 yards combined from anybody else outside of Jaden Daniels. That's how reliant they were on him, and especially his scrambling ability, which kept him in the game. So why would you give him 15 yards of space to do that? Because again, he burned you there, and that's how they got inside the 20 to begin with.
Yeah, it's just brutal end of game situational play there by Florida State. I mean, they should have run LSU out of the gym. It should have been a three score win at least. But credit LSU for coming back. And we talked about this last week, how there were rumblings that Brian Kelly's transition to there wasn't going all that well. And after the game was Keyshawn Butte and I think another player decided they were going to enter the transfer poll. There was reports that portal. There was reports that
they didn't enter the portal. I don't know if you even saw, but you got got basically by a fake.
Oh, by a fake tweet by Breckman. But didn't there? I heard afterwards there was truth to the story.
They haven't entered the portal, but after that, though, they swiped everything off their Instagram and took LSU out of their bios, which we see this happen all the time. But again, the timing of it is interesting. So they did not enter the portal as of now, which I doubt they would, but they have definitely scrubbed everything off the Instagrams.
And the reports of the near fist fight with Brian Kelly, true or not? What do we know?
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one, but I don't think there'd be a fist fight with Brian Kelly.
Well, there was a lot of scuttlebutt on Bourbon Street about there were incidents after the game. I was talking to some LSU folks, and they were like, "Yeah, we heard there was some dust up or something." So who knows? But whatever. This is it's a huge win for FSU, no question about it. We'll get to TJ Pittinger from the Double Slaw No Fries podcast is going to join us a little bit later on, and he was here as well, and we'll break it down a little bit more. All right, the Bucs talked yesterday. Todd Bowles spoke yesterday, and kind of the headline out of that was a question about Tom Brady being all in, given all the reports that were out there. Of course, you've all seen them by now, and Brady himself talked on his podcast last night. We'll have a little bit of that audio, but we thought we'd start with Todd Bowles being asked if indeed Brady is all in, and here's what he said and how he said it.
Give me 1 second.
We have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because full disclosure, I cut this up on another laptop, and I thought I had sent it to this one, but I have not. So let me do
that. All right, that's fine. It basically he's saying, look, and we'll get it when we have it. Brady is all in. We notice no different. This is how he prepares every year. I mean, obviously the absence. I mean, it is what it is, folks. But now as we get into game week, Brady is all in, doing everything that he's done in the past. Preparations are all the same, and there is no difference for Todd Bowles. So, and the Buccaneers. And let's just be honest, folks. This is, once Brady has crossed this line and whatever's going on in his personal life, if anybody can compartmentalize it, it's Tom Brady. Let's be honest about that. This guy is as good as it gets in the mental game. He's going to be supremely focused. He's going to be the Brady physically in terms of his arm strength that we've known and loved. And he's going to be able to absolutely do everything that he's done before in terms of game preparation. And that's all you want. That's all you want.
Yeah, I got it now. Here's the quote from Todd Bowles yesterday. Let me get it to load here.
He's been all in since we got him. He's all in now. So I don't follow the off the field stuff. I listen to XL, The Groove, and Soul Town, and Silk Radio. So my off the field activities are honestly not even football related.
Wait, you're telling me that they're not talking about Tom Brady on Soul Town? Are you kidding me? They're talking about Tom Brady everywhere. Come on, you can't escape it anywhere, Coach. I mean, to act like he hasn't seen the reports, and of course he's talked to Tom about it, but he's not going to give him 11 days off to go do The Masked Singer. He knows what's going on with Tom. Devin White knows what's going on with Tom. Devin White named a captain, by the way, along with Vita Vea. And Brady, of course, named a captain. And Levante David, who else am I missing? Vita Vea, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, look, Bowles is aware of it. Everybody's aware of it. And I think it's going to be more of a rallying cry than anything else. And, of course, Brady didn't talk about it specifically on his podcast last night, but he did mention a few things. And, Nick, when we have that audio, let me know, and we'll play some of that from Brady's podcast last night. So we'll get into the Bucs a little bit more as we move through the show. Scott Reynolds is going to join us at 10:30, and we'll hit more on that as they look ahead to play the Dallas Cowboys, which is going to be another incredible game in front of freaking 90,000 people that I'm so blessed to be able to go to. That will be fun. All right, partner, the Florida Gators, I saw a good portion of that game, and all I got from my Gator faithful is, how the hell did Emory Jones play so much football for the Gators last year? I mean, look, it's Anthony Richardson is not going to, be confused with Tom Brady anytime soon. But the way that dude can run and the way he controls the game, he's just the best player on the field. And he just overwhelmed Utah with his ability to run and throw in certain situations. He was phenomenal. And my only question is, can you survive in the SEC when one guy, especially your quarterback, is that much every part of your offense? I don't know that. But what were your impressions of what you saw from the Gators?
I thought they were impressive, honestly. I mean, they looked a lot better than they did last year under Dan Mullen. And how ironic, I think Dan Mullen was in the studio for this game during halftime, and we just had a great half of football from Anthony Richardson, and then Dan Mullen has to talk about him, right? I mean, it's just so fitting. I mean, I keep going back to it. If this guy had just opened his eyes and gotten rid of his allegiance to Emory Jones, he'd probably still be on the sideline for Florida potentially. Instead, he was in the studio talking about him, so that was interesting. But, Anthony Richardson, I think he passed the test with flying colors the other night. I mean, you have a crazy atmosphere in the Swamp, which over the TV, I mean, that stadium was loud. I mean, Gator Nation was out in full effect. I think 90,000 people were in that stadium. And Anthony Richardson, I mean, he's just electric. He's one of the most electric players in college football. He has a Cam Newton quality to him, like Cam Newton Auburn. He kind of has, it's not as big as Cam Newton, but kind of a mini version of him, I think. And he kind of just
pretty damn big.
Pretty damn big, but he took over that game and he willed them to victory against a Utah team that we know is pretty good, which I came away impressed with them, by the way, because that's not an easy environment to play in. And they took it all the way down to the final seconds. But just the resilience the defense showed, because you could tell they were gassed at the end to come up with that play. It's a huge win for Gator Nation and all across the board in the state of Florida, not counting USF. I'm glad to see that the big three are all rolling. Maybe the big four, you could add UCF in there, are all rolling to start the season, because it's better for college football when it's that way. Huge wins for specifically Florida and Florida State.
Yeah, I mean, Miami played Bethune and hung 70 on them, got behind early, but we're down 3-0. But yeah, they overwhelmed them. There's not much you can take from that game, kind of like the FSU Duquesne game. They'll have to back it up in the coming weeks as well. But yeah, I thought Florida was super impressive. I thought their defense at the end of the game was impressive as well. They come up with the big stop, the interception. Do you have that play? You have that play on our soundboard?
Yeah, let me cue it up here real quick.
Yeah, I thought Florida's defense in kind of a bend but don't break mode, and they came up with the big plays when they had it. I thought Utah was driving for that score. I don't know what the hell the quarterback was thinking on that throw, Rising. That was ill-advised, to say the least.
Yeah, here it was from the ESPN call.
2nd and goal. 4-man rush. End zone. Intercepted! Yes! Amari Birdie with a diving pick!
Listen to that crowd. Oh, my God. That crowd. I was watching the condensed game on YouTube late in the night, and it seemed like every time Florida touched the ball, like on a 4-yard run, the crowd would erupt. I mean, that was old-time Swamp right there. That we haven't seen anything like that in a few years. That was intimidating. And I thought, honestly, the difference in the game, I thought Utah would win that game. Said it all last week. So I was wrong on that number. But I thought that crowd, and you talked about it last week, if they were going to win it. And we heard this from Chris Pinson, who will join us again today to talk some Gator football. He was at that event. That would have to be the difference for them, and I think it was. I think the defense especially got some great energy from the crowd.
Yeah, they talked about Ventrell Miller. He was talked about a lot on the broadcast. Chris Pinson talked about his return. Scott Carter talked about his return, and he was huge in that game as well. He's kind of the commander of that defense. He dropped that pick on the last drive, if you recall, and I know that was. Yeah. But, good thing they came up and they were able to overcome that and get the pick eventually there from the throw from Cam Rising, which I know the receiver fell down or whatever, but I don't really know what he was looking at regardless, because there was like 3 Florida players in the vicinity. And it was just a great play there. So, yeah, Florida, I mean, that's as loud as I've heard it. It kind of reminded me you remember the LaMichael Pirine run a few years back?
Oh, yeah. It
reminded me of that, but it was like sustained throughout the entire game. Sustained. And again, that's good to see.
Yeah, I think you look at Miami, FSU, and Florida on the first. I mean, obviously, FSU and Florida had bigger opportunities to get wins. The other thing that a lot of people pointed out is there was nobody in that stadium with Miami and Bethune-Cookman. And this is, even when you got last week, I think FSU had 65,000 for the Duquesne. It was a rain game. I mean, the crowd, it would have been a lot bigger, I think, if it had not been delayed by an hour and a half. But this is the issue Miami's always going to have is it's when it's not a big game and it's not a marquee game, nobody shows up. They just don't have the numbers that are going to support them at that stadium, which is why they're trying to build a stadium much closer to their campus.
Well, that's true, but there is one team that in this area who had a really big game with a good opponent. And I don't know how much of it you caught on TV, but you want to talk about nobody there.
Well, they had a 2.5 hour lightning delay.
There was nobody there when the game started, though, before the lightning started. And shout out to the student section, by the way. That's as good of a student section that I've seen at a USF game. All the credit there because we've talked about students needing to get to the stadium and support the team. They were great, and a lot of them stayed to the end throughout the blowout. But there still was just nobody at that game. I mean, it was hard over the TV broadcast again. There's no gnat sound coming from the crowd, really. Just for whatever reason, it just did not translate over. It was hard to watch. USF was down 28-0 before you blinked. If you came in late, you probably tuned right back out. It was an embarrassing day for USF the other night.
Yeah, for them to go up to Provo last year and hang, what was it, 34-20? It was a one-score game.
Yeah.
And hang. And then all the hype this offseason, which I'll be, I bought into it. Not that the season's over, but again, when you hype it up like this and, Gary Bohannon and, we're improved and lots of transfers and you come out and lay an egg like that at home. I mean, that's just, I guess a lot of people didn't show up anyway, but the people that did show up, are they ever coming back? No.
No, a lot of USF fans have already said, well, this is the season now. And unfortunately, a lot of people are starting to turn on Jeff Scott and the fan base. And because you just can't have that at home and be down 28-0 before you just can't do it. I don't care who you're playing. And again, with all the experience of Gary Bohannon and a great young man that we spoke to last week, he wasn't good in that first quarter. And he contributed to it. But then the defense, the first play of the game, they go 80 yards for a touchdown. You start like that. It's hard to really recover, right? And that's what USF did them in last year a lot, where they always had to come back. So that wasn't good. And then afterwards, you have former players in this program who have been here under Jeff Scott tweeting cryptic things about, you'll find out soon enough what's going on here. And so there's all this rumors of what's going on behind the scenes. The player is totally not buying into Jeff Scott. It's getting all of a sudden all this good news and good pub they had for 8 months of the offseason has all been undone with 4 hours the other night and everything that's happened afterwards.
Well, I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock in some of those kids. We'll have to wait and see. But, when you have a new coaching staff that comes in, there's going to be guys just like LSU, just like FSU, just like Florida. They're going to be guys that don't buy in. It just are. They weren't recruited by these coaches, and these coaches may not believe in them. And when the coaches don't believe in them and they don't play them and they get rid of them, then what are they going to do? They're gonna after the game, after a blowout loss like this, they're going to get on Twitter and start making snarky comments. I get that. They may be right, but we'll see. I think it's one game, but that's brutal. That is absolutely brutal on so many levels. And, the bottom line is we can talk facilities all we want. We can talk about new stadiums, new on-campus stadiums. You got to go out and win football games.
Yeah.
And you can't be embarrassed like that. It's one thing to lose a football game. LSU is probably and Utah probably going, man, that's not the way we wanted it to go. We could have won that game, but we were in it. It's not some embarrassing disaster. That's a freaking disaster what happened to USF. It can't happen. And now they got to bounce back in a hurry. And it could get ugly early at USF if they don't. They got Florida next week.
They get Howard this week. So they'll get their easy victory on the schedule that they have. And then they got to go play Florida up in Gainesville, which is daunting. And at the moment, I wonder what the spread's going to be for that game. I can't imagine it's going to be close. And I just don't see how USF's going to match up to them. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But early impressions of USF, I can't find one positive. I don't want to hear, USF outscored them in the third or fourth. I'm done past that. I'm sorry, I'm past that. I don't care that they were still hanging on in the fourth and fighting. I expect you to do that. What I don't expect is for you to be losing 35-0 in the second quarter at home in the first game of the season against a team that you went toe-to-toe with last season, who was probably a better team last season. That's what I don't expect, and I expected you to be a better team. And then Jeff Scott afterwards, sits up there and says, I thought we were prepared, when clearly we weren't. I mean, that's a problem. Why weren't you prepared? Why didn't you have an answer for BYU? I mean, it's going to get tough for Jeff Scott. It just is. I mean, I believe in him. You believe in him. But the fact of the matter says this. He's won 3 games at USF. Yeah. He's won 3. And it's a wins and losses business. And he has to win games this year. And that was an awful start.
Well, when you hear a coach say that, I thought we were prepared. When you come from a program like Clemson, you know what a good team looks like. You know what a prepared team looks like. And if you went into that game thinking your team was prepared, then you got to start questioning the coach's perception. Is he fooling himself? Because you were fooled if you thought your team was prepared. How much are we going to be able to glean from next week's game? Not much. So the next time we're really going to be able to evaluate this team is at Florida. Good luck. Good luck with that. Because this is where you kind of find out what your team is made of. You either show a backbone or, you're running for the fences, and we'll see where it goes. But right now for USF, it's a tough buy-in.
I hate to say it. I hate to say this, and maybe this is too harsh, but Jeff Scott looks like a guy who's just holding a clipboard. He just looks like a guy right now that's holding the clipboard. There's just nothing creative. There's nothing creative about the offense. He looks like a guy just holding the clipboard, or a guy who had just worked with outstanding talent at Clemson, which, by the way, their offense was anemic last night for half of it. And a lot of people are saying that maybe it has to do something with the fact that Jeff Scott left. But then again, I'm seeing him at USF, and it's just not translating. So I don't know what it is. But right now, he just looks like a guy with a clipboard that has a head coach title. And that's unfortunate, and I hate saying those things, but 3 wins. 3 wins.
The answer to that is, what we always say, it ain't the X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and Joes. You look really good when you got Trevor Lawrence pulling the trigger. And 3 All-Americans in your offensive line, and a cast of receivers that are all in the NFL right now, right? So those guys can coach those guys up pretty good. And it's no shot at you. But then you look at Clemson, has their talent depleted that much? Well, a little bit. There's no question about that. DJ Olungalele is no Trevor Lawrence, that's for damn sure, and Deshaun Watson. It's a lot about the players. But, this is where Jeff Scott has to show us what he's made of. And right now, I mean, I said, if you get 4 wins this year, I think it's going to be okay because they like what he's doing. He says all the right things. He busts his ass. Everything looks really, really good. But you got to win games, man. You got to put it on the field. And at times last year, I thought they did, like at BYU. But then you can't. It's hard to recover from that. All right, real quick before we get to Scott Reynolds, your take on the Rays weekend. Were you there Sunday?
I bowed out of going.
What happened? The refinance not go through? You couldn't get $2,000 needed to go to the game on Sunday?
Well, I knew I was going to spend a lot of money watching the FSU game later in the night. And so I kind of decided, do I want to go out with friends and have a good time watching the FSU game, or do I want to blow my wad at the Rays game?
Good call.
It was a question. I had an offer to play like other things, like pickleball. I played pickleball during the Rays game, actually, I'll admit, on Sunday. Didn't miss much. The Rays scored, I think, 1 run. So I made the right decision. I'll put it down.
Absolutely made the right call.
Made the right decision, but I was glad to see that it was sold out Saturday and Sunday. You can say it was all Yankee fans, whatever. It was sold out Saturday and Sunday. The record will show that. And the Rays picked up 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. And then last night followed it up with a big win over the Red Sox. So, again, still feeling high on the Rays. if they had won that final game against the Yankees, which they did get hosed on the call, I'm sure you saw it. That was not a strike.
No.
If they would have swept the Yankees, I would have felt a little bit better about their chances to win the division, because you would have been 3 back, and now I think you remain 5 back. So that's my only thing I'll say about that.
All right, we'll get into a lot more Rays talk as the day goes on. But up next, Scott Reynolds from the Pewter Report will join us. And we are brought to you in our first hour by Emerging Investigations. You can find them at Emerging INV, Tampa Bay's #1 premier private investigation agency. So if you're having issues with your spouse or you have a criminal matter you need some information on, they are the folks to go to. Many local attorneys and insurance companies use Emerging Investigations. You can use them too. You can find them at emerginginv.com. Quick break from New Orleans and Tampa. When we come back, we'll talk to Scott Reynolds and look forward to the Buccaneers opener against Dallas. Stay with us.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your six. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand. Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your six. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Emerging Investigations. You can find them at emerginginv.com. All right, let's welcome in our good friend from the Pewter Report, Scott Reynolds, joining us here, fresh from his trip to Manhattan, Kansas, to see Kansas State with the big opening win, along with your best buddy now, fellow Wildcat, your boy Rondé Barber. How was that trip this weekend?
That was fun. It's always great to be back at the Bill. Of course, that's Bill Snyder Family Stadium. And I had not been back since 1994 to a season opener. That was my last year in college, so it was really cool to be there for opening day. 34-0 against South Dakota. That's to be expected. It was nice to see a shutout. It's hard to even get a shutout against some of these lesser schools. Shutouts are a thing of the past. But it was good. RJ Garcia, a kid that I coached with the South Pasco Predators, Pop Warner, was a wide receiver, as a redshirt freshman wide receiver, had a nice 17-yard catch in the game. So, yeah, it was good. And then another SPP alum, Wade Woodaz, freshman Clemson linebacker at a Jesuit, blocked a punt last night on national TV in his first college game for the Clemson Tigers. So it was really cool to see a couple of my former kids go on to have some great moments here over the weekend in their college football season.
You had 3 D1 kids last night.
Yeah,
What's the other one?
Rocco Becht.
Rocco Becht, right?
Yeah. Coached him for 1 year. Went to Wiregrass High School, starred there. His father, Anthony Becht, former Bucs tight end, good friend of mine. And he got into the game as a true freshman at Iowa State for his first college game. So all 3 South Pasco Predators alums showing up on the field on opening weekend. It was pretty cool to see.
And here I used to think you were some great coach because you told me how great your defense was, and now you got 3 D1 kids. Well, duh. And Lovey Smith could have coached that defense up. Come on.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. We fared much better than Lovey Smith did with our records. We won division championships, went to the playoffs. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun seeing these kids grow up. And,
it is, man. It's a blast.
As much as we watch all these guys on Saturday play, and we think, oh, yeah, he's talented, he got the D1. It's so hard to get that out there and play. I mean, just between, staying, not injured,
right,
making all the right decisions. The competition for these scholarships is just off the chain. So
right. And JP, it's the competition once you're there. You're part of like 90 kids, and they only play 11 at one time on offense and defense. So there's a lot of college, or I should say high school star players that get a scholarship that go to a major, Power 5 school, and the only time they see the field during their entire college career is on special teams. That happens to a lot of kids. That's just how it is. So it's quite a feat to get on the field once you're there. And the interesting thing about Wade Woodaz, he went to Jesuit and won a state title there. And the linebacker next to him last year, Troy Bowles, Todd Bowles' son, who is a 4-star recruit to Georgia for next year. So there's a lot of amazing talent here in the Tampa Bay area that keeps coming and flooding these D1 schools.
And a lot of it coming from Jesuit. They put a lot of kids in some D1 programs, and now soon into the NFL. So, it's incredible the level of talent that we have in Tampa Bay, and a lot of it has to do with coaching.
Yeah.
And I'll go down to even to your level. I mean, look at you. You know your football, and you're out there coaching these kids, and they go and they rise up because they're getting good coaching. And you look all around, St. Pete and Tampa, and we've got former Buccaneers and former D1 players all over the place that are coaching these kids up. They know what they're doing, and that's why I think that we've got good talent, but it's being developed really well.
That's right. Well, and listen, it's kind of funny, even at the Pop Warner level, right? Brenson Buckner, who was a former Carolina Panthers defensive lineman, after he retired as a player, he started coaching Pop Warner. And then that led to NFL coaching opportunities. He did an internship, and then he was the Bucs or the Cardinals defensive line coach, then the Bucs defensive line coach. Then he went out to the Raiders. So, I mean, he's an NFL caliber defensive line coach. I'm not sure where he's at now, but even he got his first coaching start at the Pop Warner level. So you can be a coach. What I learned, even when talking with the NFL coaches that I had, I'd have players come out. I had Rondé Barber come out. And the interesting thing is, so the connection with Rondé, the reason why Rondé was out there with me at Kansas State, his daughter, Justice Barber, dated RJ Garcia, who went to Berkeley Prep here in Tampa. And so the Barbers and the Garcias are close. So Rondé, starting last year when RJ was a true freshman, would go out to Kansas State and watch a couple games, went out to this one. But the funny thing is, I actually had Rondé come out back when I was coaching the South Pasco Predators. He came out and talked to my Pop Warner team when his daughter Justice was playing volleyball down the street at Academy at the Lakes in Pasco. And RJ Garcia was on my team at the time.
Oh, wow.
So RJ, before he started dating Rondé Barber's daughter, saw Rondé for the first time at a South Pasco Predators Pop Warner practice. And then a couple years later, starts dating Justice, and now they're almost family. So it's pretty cool.
Small world. All right, let's get into the Buccaneers. And, at this point, obviously, with minus Ryan Jensen, I would say, especially when you look around the league at other places at what's happening in turmoil and drama and injuries, I'd say the Bucs have reached game one in a pretty good situation. I mean, again, we'll be looking at that center position and the guard position, but all in all, as we can look at this roster right now, Your thoughts on heading into this game against Dallas, which I think they should win. I think they should win this game. I won't say comfortably, but should win.
I think they should win. I think it's going to be a polar opposite of what it was last year, which was kind of a shootout.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers should have won that game handily. They had some turnovers that gave the Cowboys short field positions that remember the fluky interception. Brady dumps the ball off to Leonard Fournette on a screen play. The ball bounces up in the air and it gets picked off by the Cowboys. All of a sudden they're in the Bucs red zone. So last year's game though came down to a Ryan Suckup field goal to win the game 31-29. I expect this game to be much closer to like 2017, 24-20. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle for two big reasons. Number one, both offensive lines have suffered some serious injuries. The left tackle, Tyron Smith, he's out for, or Tyron Smith, he's out for this game. Could be out for most of the season. And they just signed Jason Peters, put him on the practice squad. I don't think Peters is going to play in this game per se. They're probably going to put the rookie out there, Tyler Smith, and take their chances there. That's a huge advantage for Shaq Barrett, who I would suspect will see a lot of time lining up at a right outside linebacker against their rookie left tackle. That's going to be a tough assignment. So then with Tampa, it's not the tackles. Obviously, you got Tristan Wirfs and Donovan Smith, two of the best in the game, probably the best duo in the game today. But that interior, you're going to see a lot of A.J. Barr and Micah Parsons with some A and B gap blitzes, really testing that interior. Last year in the season opener, it was Pro Bowler Ali Marpet, Pro Bowler Ryan Jensen, and Alex Kappa was a better pass protector than run blocker at 6'6", 320, just a big man to get around. Now you got 6'2", 305-pound right guard Shaq Mason. You've got Robert Hainsey getting his first start at center in the NFL, and then you've got, in getting his first start, rookie Luke Gedeke. So I think that interior is going to get tested with a lot of A-gap blitzes. And the funny thing is, Todd Bowles is going to do the exact same thing to that Cowboys offensive line.
Yeah, it's going to force these quarterbacks to be at their best and kind of deducing what's coming. And, of course, there's nobody better at that than Tom Brady. And, the question was asked yesterday, is he all in? They all know now what's going on with him. We did it a couple of weeks ago. Yep. But as we talked about last week, and I feel the same way. If there's anybody that can compartmentalize this, it's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
In fact, I really do think it's going to make him even more zeroed in on what's going on, if that's even possible. But that's just been his history. Whenever he's faced adversity, especially public doubt, and there's a lot of public doubt now about the Bucs, and as Brady pointed out to his own offensive line. So I think he turns this into a positive. What are your thoughts?
I think so too. You're going to see, I believe, a heavy dose of Leonard Fournette in the week one game to try to listen. You want Micah Parsons tackling rather than sacking, right? That's how you beat the Cowboys. Run the ball at him, make him be a tackler rather than get him in the backfield. And so I think Leonard Fournette is going to be a centerpiece for this Bucs offensive attack. And of course, on third downs, he'll be involved in the passing game as well. I think the Buccaneers are going to be probably initially to start the season to see how Gedeke and Hainsey hold up in pass protection. I think they're going to scrap a lot of the downfield passing game stuff that Bruce Arians likes. Byron Leftwich is calling the shots. He no longer has Bruce in his ear. That's huge because Bruce is one of those impatient guys. Take a shot. And that's fine when it works. Right. But when it gets your quarterback drilled because he's got to do a 7-step drop or hang on to the ball for a couple seconds, and again, you're going to be seeing a lot of pressure up the middle. That's going to force a lot of quick throws. So I think you're going to see wide receiver screens, the short passing game. I think you're going to see them go up tempo. Pretty much what they did against the Colts in that season opener for the starters in that third and final preseason game. I think that's going to be the approach they're going to use against the Cowboys. Let a short, rhythmic passing game, move the chains, long drives, wear the Cowboys defense out physically, and keep the ball away from Dak Prescott. They saw firsthand what this guy can do. Prescott has always shown up against the Buccaneers. Over 400 yards passing last year, 3 touchdowns. He's dangerous, even if his weaponry is a bit diminished this year, still has CeeDee Lamb. I just think that this is going to be more of the old school football control the clock, running game, play good defense, get out of there with a win. I could see this being a 2017, 24-20, that type of game.
I agree with you on that. Scott Reynolds joining us here from the Pewter Report. All right, let's flip to the defensive side. I mean, I think it's a lot, maybe too much been made about the fact that Jamal Dean will get the starting nod. I mean, they're going to be playing a lot of nickel. At the end of the game, who gets the most snaps, right? I don't think starting really matters, but I do look at these two corners for the Bucs, Carlton Davis and Dean. We'll throw Sean Murphy-Bunting, the entire secondary. I think it's probably where the Bucs have improved most on defense. And also we heard Casey Rogers say yesterday, we're much more athletic than we were last year on defense, much faster. I agree with all that, and I'm anxious to see how it all comes together against the Cowboys. Your thoughts?
It will be interesting to see how much the Cowboys test the Buccaneers' run defense. Last year, it was just some token runs by Ezekiel Elliott. Are they going to get Tony Pollard more involved this year running the ball? They probably should. I think he's the better back at this stage of their careers.
Yeah.
But it's hard because you don't want to waste downs. You don't want to sit there and probe that run defense and have no gain or gain 1 yard. Now you're in 2nd and 9, right? Now you got 9. You got 2 plays to get 9 yards. That's tough to do against this Bucs defense, especially when you've got Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis. They can do more press man this year than they did last year. Last year was more keep everything in front of you, play a little off coverage, and Radley to make the tackle, give up some first downs, but not touchdowns. And that approach worked, and we'll see if Bowles gets more aggressive this year with the full complement of players in the secondary, at least to start off the season. That kind of ended quickly last year with Sean Murphy-Bunting got hurt in the first quarter and was out for half the season. So we'll see what approach he has to make. But the biggest thing is he made the decision Antoine Winfield is going to be our nickel corner. And he made sure that Winfield played every single snap just about in preseason and not in the preseason, but in training camp to get used to man coverage. Right, those crosser routes from the slot, deep routes with tight ends, just going a 9 route down the middle of the seam, just to get him used to that. And I think with a month's worth of practice chasing around the Bucs slot receivers and tight ends, I think Winfield has improved in man coverage. He is going to be what Rondé Barber used to be for the Buccaneers. Rondé was an outside corner who moved inside in nickel situations. Antoine Winfield in base defense will be the starting free safety. He will move to the slot and play nickel corner in nickel defense, that slot cornerback position. So unlike Barber, who was starting cornerback on the outside, moving inside, Winfield's going to be the starting safety who will move inside in nickel situations, which, as you mentioned, JP, will probably be most of the game. That's just where we are in this day and age in the NFL. Logan Ryan then comes in and gives the Buccaneers some meaningful snaps at free safety, replacing Winfield at that spot while Winfield, moves in the corner. And I like the move. Winfield's more physical. Plus, the guy's a hell of a blitzer. That's something Rondé Barber obviously flourished in. And in just 2 years, Winfield has 5 sacks from the safety position. Of course, those were with him walking down the line of scrimmage. So I like Winfield in the box. He's a great tackler. We saw the key forced fumble at New Orleans against Jared Cook in that playoff game. That happened within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. Putting this guy closer to the action, I think, is what it's all about.
I agree more. It's playmakers. On defense, this is what the Bucs defense has lacked. The turnover, the big key turnover. I shouldn't say lacked that. They've gotten a lot of those, especially back in the Super Bowl season. But it seems last year, maybe not as much. And Winfield he's got those instincts, those Rondé Barber instincts, and you want to take advantage of them and have him in the middle of the play all the time. I think Logan Ryan is kind of that way as well.
Yeah.
I think Carlton Davis really feels the need to not only, get your hands on the ball, but catch that dadgum thing and run it back. So I think, and I put Joe Tryon in there. I mean, they're faster, they're just more athletic, and they need to turn that into instinctual defensive plays where you're in the right place at the right time and get that turnover. That's what we got to see.
I agree. We're also going to see more under fronts. And what that means is instead of the Bucs played mostly over fronts last year, the under front this year is, and I'll just kind of, for your listeners out there, put it in simple terms. It's where Akeem Hicks actually plays nose tackle, and Vita Vea moves out to the 3 technique. So it's kind of like a flipped formation. In the over front, Vita Vea is the strong side nose tackle playing in the A gap against the guard and center. And then you've got what's called the weak side tackle, and that would be Akeem Hicks. It's just flipped. With the under, they move Vita Vea and give him a one-on-one. And we saw what happened in Indianapolis. If you remember that Vita Vea tackle for loss, that's exactly what happened. He got one-on-one against a left tackle. Those players are usually finesse, more so than the road graders on the right side. And that left tackle got tossed aside by Vita, and he was right there to make the tackle while you had Akeem Hicks occupying the guard center double team. So it just gives Todd Bowles more versatility up front to move his pieces around and create some chess matches. And I love that. Akeem Hicks, Josh Capo from Pewter Report has got a video up on our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. If you want to see what Akeem Hicks can do, Josh breaks out 5 plays, and it's probably all he played in the preseason opener, or the preseason finale, I should say, the opener for the starters, if you will, against the Colts. And Akeem Hicks is he can run circles around Ndamukong Suh from an athletic standpoint. So this is a huge upgrade right there for the Buccaneers. Not just what he can do rushing the passer, but just his quickness and being able to affect the running game and be even more stout than Suh, who is just aging at 35.
And we haven't really talked about Logan Hall.
Right.
He and Logan Ryan mixed up. We haven't talked much about him. Casey Rogers did yesterday when he talked with the media, and they really feel like he's at least he said this, that he's an important piece. I mean, we haven't really talked about him because there's so many other guys to talk about, but he's your top pick, and he's got incredible amounts of ability. And I feel like we've kind of overlooked him. Because, we really don't know what these guys can do until the pads come on and the lights are on for real. So I'm interested to see what kind of role he play and how much impact he can have. Your thoughts? It's
great because Akeem Hicks is not only a perfect mentor for a guy like Logan Hall coming in as a rookie. He takes all the pressure off. Hall doesn't have to start as the Bucs' first pick, even though it was at the top of the second round rather than the first round. Let's go back, JP, and look at the last 4 defensive tackles that the Bucs have drafted in the first round. In 1995, they draft Warren Sapp, Outland Trophy winner, Lombardi winner, all that stuff right out of Miami. Yeah, 3 sacks as a rookie in 95 as a situational player. In 1999, they draft Booger McFarland out of LSU, 1 sack as a rookie. Gerald McCoy was drafted 3rd overall in 2010, 3 sacks as a rookie. Vita Vea drafted in the first round out of Washington in 2018, 3 sacks as a rookie. So Hall wants to come in and get 6 sacks. That's his personal goal. That's fine. I'm not going to say he can't get it, but even if he only has 3 sacks, and keep in mind, most of the sacks in Todd Bowles' defense comes from the outside linebackers with the defensive tackles occupying bodies inside and creating those one-on-ones on the outside. But even if Logan Hall comes in as a situational guy and gets 3 sacks, he's on a Pro Bowl pace, man. Sapp, McCoy, Vita Vea, all Pro Bowlers, all had 3 sacks as a rookie. That's a very good start. So I suspect you're going to get probably 6 or 7 sacks if Akeem Hicks stays healthy from him. And if you can get 3 sacks from Logan Hall, that's 9 or 10 sacks. That's better than the duo of Suh, who had 6 last year, and McClendon, who had 0. So I think it's a huge win for the Buccaneers. One last thing on Logan Hall. His best play of the preseason, he gets held on Sam Erlinger's 45-yard touchdown run. But he didn't stay held. He ran 47 yards down the field, never gave up on the play, dove and clipped Erlinger's feet, causing him to fall into the end zone for the touchdown. But for a big 305-pound dude to run 47 yards in a preseason game shows you the heart and the hustle that this kid has on never giving up on the play. Those are foundational, fundamental things that you need to be great in this league. You can't coach effort, heart, and hustle. Those are things that the coaches want, but they have to come from inside. Everything else you can teach, technique, leverage, all of that stuff, pass rush moves, you can teach all of that technical stuff. But to have the will to, as a big lineman, follow a quarterback 47 yards down the field and almost catch him, that speaks volumes about what this kid can bring to the table.
Could not agree more. And last thing for you, special teams have not been special in the preseason. I don't even know who the Gunners are. I'm not even sure, who the return people are, whether it's going to be Jalen Darden or Rashad White.
Yeah.
And even if it's Jalen Darden, I still haven't seen anything special from him in that regard.
Right.
You got a rookie punter, and thank God you went with the experienced kicker, and the Borgalius dalliance is over. So, but special teams can get you beat. They can get you beat. And right now, I'm concerned about that portion of the Bucs team. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Cavante Turpin, who went to TCU, I watched him a lot in the Big 12. He's a problem.
Yeah.
He had a 98-yard kickoff return in the preseason for a touchdown and an 86-yard punt return for a touchdown in the same game. He is a problem. Now, I will say there was some strategy to what Todd Bowles and Keith Armstrong were doing in the preseason. They wanted Jake Camarda to outkick the coverage. They wanted to find out, and this was by design, which guys could run down the field really fast and make a tackle. Now, the problem is it kind of backfired because they didn't really find the guys that they wanted. And Zion McCollum, his hamstring injury in the Tennessee practice, that really hurt the Buccaneers because they expected him. They wanted him to be one of those gunners. And I think he would have been if he did not miss these 2 preseason games. And he's still, I think he's going to be out for this game. He's returning from a hamstring injury. And they like what he can do in special teams and defense. So I think when he comes back, that's going to be one of the gunners. The problem is he's not going to be playing in Dallas and probably not New Orleans. New Orleans has got some really good special teams. I mean, they've got some great return units. It's a program there. It's a system in New Orleans. They're really good. So it's not just getting by Dallas. It's week 1 and week 2. This coverage team has got to be on guard. What I would suspect is you're going to see a lot of shorter punts from Camarda that are going to result in fair catches. So instead of the 62-yarders and 55-yarders you saw him boom in the preseason that were by design to try to see who could run down the field real fast to make these tackles, I think you're going to see some 40-yard punts just to flip the field position enough to create some fair catches because they do not want Turpin in open field against the Buccaneer coverage units, which have been shaky at best.
Kick it out of bounds. That'll work too. He's a great directional punter, we're told. So there you go. All right, Scotty, tell us what you guys got going for game week at Pewter Report.
We got our Pewter Report podcast returning today at 4 o'clock on our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. So check those out. Make sure you check out pewterreport.com for all of the latest Bucs news. We have our Pewter Report Roundtable up right now, which is the game the Bucs must win. Our Pewter reporters sound off on which game that is. And we also have JC Allen's 10 bold predictions for the Bucs in 2020 article up, plus more content coming this afternoon. You can follow all the action at pewterreport.com and make sure you're following us on social media at Pewter Report on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
All right. Congrats to K-State. Congrats to FSU. We'll give Nick a nod for UCF as well.
Yeah.
And let's hope the Bucs can make this a perfect opening week for many of us.
Go Cats, charge on, and do the chop.
Boy, my arm's sore from the other night. I'll tell you. And on Bourbon Street, too. Every time you pass somebody, it's
exactly.
Like, all right, Scotty. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
You got it.
All right, we're going to take a break right after I tell you about emerging investigations for Tampa Bay's and Florida's #1 private investigation agency. They are family-owned business, and they will chat with you about your issue. That's part about it. Call Rachel will answer the phone and say, "What's going on?" And they'll tell you about the process. If you have a spouse you think is cheating, or you're involved in a divorce and you need some information, or you have maybe a missing person that the police aren't helping out on, they can help out on all those things. Insurance fraud is something else they do really, really well. A lot of insurance agencies hire them for that. So if you're an insurance adjuster and you need some information, Emerging Investigations is a place to go. EmergingINV.com. Just go to their website. Their contact information is right there. It's a free call, by the way. Just call them up, tell them about what's going on. They'll tell you about the process, and then you can decide whether you want to hire them or not. So check them out, Emerging Investigations, emerginginv.com. All right, we'll come back. And when we do, Chris Pinson from WCJB in Gainesville will join us. He was at the Swamp on Saturday night, and he'll tell us all about it when we come back. Stay with us.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-29... risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or italianoinsurance.com.
Let's go. Right now. Back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, coming to you live from New Orleans. Just hanging out in my sweet little Airbnb here that we got on St. Bernard Street, right outside the French Quarter. Boy, it has been a very, very interesting long weekend here in New Orleans, I'll tell you that. Bourbon Street has never looked more dirty or smelled worse in my life, so I just definitely renewed that. So we stayed out a little outside the city and spent a lot of time at Magazine Street, which is a much nicer area. So if you're coming to NOLA next time, keep that in mind. All right, speaking of absolute lunacy, let's check in with our good friend Chris Pinson from WCJB, who was in the Swamp on Saturday night as 90,000 lunatics descended upon this 7th-ranked Utah team. It totally took them out of the game. What's up, Chris Pinson? How are you? Have your ears stopped ringing yet?
Oh, brother, you talk about dirty and smelly.
thank God the rain came down because, brother, deodorant was in large supply that night.
I can imagine. Did you guys have a little bit of a rain delay there, or it just got rained on?
Honestly, man, luckily, when I met some of my former colleagues there for a little libations, it did come down a little bit. So by the time the two teams actually took the field, the rain had finally halted. But there was enough of a rainfall during the pregame warmups that actually the UF band was not allowed to go on the field and perform their normal script of Florida. So the field was definitely marshy and soft.
Wow.
But I'm telling you, JP, what a game that was, man. Just like your Seminoles, everybody was holding their breath because really, there was all this talk about what could happen, what might happen. But nobody had any idea what was going to happen until it finally did. And, man, JP, what a game to take in for Billy Napier to win his debut against 7th-ranked Utah. Pretty special, partner.
Yeah, that was huge. And obviously Anthony Richardson was phenomenal. And, I knew he was a good player, and we'd obviously seen his physical abilities. But what I was really impressed with was the way he just took over the game like a seasoned veteran. Now, can you go through, 9 SEC games like that and make it to the title game? I don't think so. He's got to get some help, but at least in this first game, and that'll come as the offense, they get more used to it. But I can't say enough about how impressed I was about how he just willed them to a win. He was not going to let Florida lose that game.
No, he was not. And what was so great about watching him in those big moments, right, whether it was the 45-yard touchdown run there to close out the first half and give Florida a huge boost going into intermission, was he said after the game, they asked him about that moment, about having the ball in his hands, being the guy, what was that like? And he said, right before they were going to score that final touchdown, the go-ahead 29-26 in the final 90 seconds, he said, Coach Napier looked at us and looked at me and said, all right, we're going to go for the win here. He said, and my heart kind of froze because I had never had those words spoken to me here. You think about that, JP. I mean, you understand how big of a one that is just from being an athlete yourself and a fan. But for Ebony Richardson, the hometown kid from Gainesville, Florida, played here at Eastside, to have that said to him during the biggest game of his entire career at home, and then to actually do it and the defense pull off the game-winning pick in the end zone. I mean, brother, if that doesn't make your skin just kind of jump like it's doing mine right now, you don't have a pulse, I think.
Yeah, it's so awesome to see kids come of age in that manner, especially when they're the hometown hero. I mean, there was times when people were talking about, is Anthony Richardson is he gonna transfer? Is he gonna go somewhere else? I mean, this kid grew up, just dreaming of being a Gator, and to have that moment the way he did in the swamp, and we have to just acknowledge that. What the hell was Dan Mullen thinking? I mean, not only is Richardson just an incredible specimen and leader, but I mean, think of Dameon Pierce, who's going to start for the Texans this year, who never got any run at Florida. I mean, what the hell was Dan Mullen thinking? Jesus.
Only 8 carries a game.
Yeah. I mean, look, what the hell was Mullen thinking?
Honestly, JP, the word on the street around that philosophy by Mullen was that he really was just too true loyal to the guys that he had recruited. Not saying that obviously he didn't recruit Anthony Richardson or Pierce to come to his school, but, guys like Malik Davis, guys like Emory Jones, who was Dan Mullen's swing recruit, because originally Emory Jones was supposed to be an Ohio State Buckeye. But when Mullen took over, he said, hey, Emory, come to Florida, man. And so that was Dan's knock, is that he would just had too much loyalty to the guys that I guess he originally recruited, might have had some ups and downs in their career, injuries, whatever. And so that's why Malik Davis had split carries with Pierce. That's why Emory Jones had more time last year. Obviously, Richardson got hurt, so that derailed his more of his coming out party. But I will say this, JP, obviously, right, one game does not make a season, right? You know that Florida State's win over LSU doesn't mean they're back. Florida beating Utah doesn't mean they're back. But to me, the most important part for both those ball clubs is this. They faced adversity. It was a last-second nail-biter. And in the end, both coaches had their teams focused to the level that you have to have in those critical moments. And they executed when they needed to. And to me, that says a lot about the direction both programs are trending right now.
Chris Pinson joining us here, WCJB TV20 in Gainesville, joining us. He was at the Swamp on Saturday night for the big win for the Gators. Other than Anthony Richardson, I was very impressed by the Gator defense in some certain situations. I mean, obviously Utah's got a very good offense. Cam Rising is a very good quarterback. And obviously the drive, they get the big pick in the end zone there. Your thoughts on what you saw from the Gator defense?
Rushing defense definitely is what I think a lot of us believe is going to be. It's a front that does have size and does have power, but against the run, it is going to get bullied a little bit. That was their weak spot last year. Last year, Florida gave up 100 yards or more on the ground, 10 of 13 games. That includes the last 7 games they played. They gave up 300 or more yards to LSU, and they gave up 280 to South Carolina and UCF. And so, they actually only allowed just over 100 yards against Utah, which is great. Because Tavion Tolliver ran for 1,121 scores last year for a school record. So for the Gator defense to give up the run like they did, it's going to be a concern all season. But as you mentioned, right, there were a few third down stops. Ventrell Miller, who missed all of last year due to an injury, he was back for Saturday, and he looked like a man that was a 6-year possessed senior. He played great. And I got to tell you, this is hilarious, JP. So before the game, a lot of my buddies I'm hanging out with, on tailgate and stuff, and they are just dogging. I mean, they are dogging Amari Burney. They're like, this guy's been here for 5 years. He ain't done jack. He's a liability cover. He's not a good run stopper. And, man, when Burney made the pick, I said it on air at the 11. I said, burn, baby, burn. And I called my buddy after the game, and I said, now, let me ask you something. I said, if you had to kiss Amari Burney, I said, how big of a kiss would you give him right now? He goes, brother, it'd be the sloppiest French kiss of all time.
Hey, that's college football fandom for you right there. No question about it. Eddie, what are the thoughts on Billy Napier? What's the scuttlebutt from the fans and the other media on how he coached his first game? I thought just in general to have his team that buttoned up and that ready, for a team this good was. I thought UF would lose this game. I thought Utah was the better squad. So I give high marks to his coaching staff and to having these guys ready. What are your thoughts?
JP, I mean, you just said it best, dude. I mean, literally, I knew this game was 50-50. To me, the Utah game, the Kentucky game, LSU, and even Tennessee, to me, are going to be toss-up games. I could easily see Florida winning or losing those 4 games, right? They just won one of them, the first one. But, again, the way Florida played in those crucial moments, that gave me so much confidence that Billy Napier has his claws in this team. His fingerprints on this team are everywhere right now. Because last year, brother, you watched Florida. They went 6-7 because A, they couldn't stop the run, and B, they made so many stupid, silly penalties or just the dumbest things in the biggest moments. And this team just proved, hey, you know what? Yeah, it wasn't perfect. He said yesterday at his press conference, tape was sloppy. A lot of things to clean up. But every coach says that. So to give you the gauge of Gator Nation, they are absolutely in love with him. They truly believe, and I truly believe, from all the conversations this man has shared with us at press conferences, or all the things that I've seen him do, that I know why he's the right guy. Hey, he had moments when the Gators were winning. He is a very fun, gregarious guy, right? He's sarcastic. He's funny. He'll do cool things. When they lose, he's a pretty poor sport, and that's not a good temperament. For Billy Napier, we haven't seen what happens and what his reaction is if they lose a game. But from what I can tell you, JP, this man has acted in the exact same manner every single time he's talked to the media. And the most important thing is, and this is where he gets his coaching disciple tree from Saban, he thanks everything. I mean, he's one of those guys that just profusely thanks people. It's almost like an acceptance speech you wish would end. We're like, we get it, coach. But JP, he understands that every individual part of the chain has to be equally important. And because of that, I believe he's got everybody from the training staff to the equipment staff to the players to the fan base. Everybody right now is singing Billy Napier's praises.
Well, it's like he said at their press conference, they played hard, and that's what he's most impressed with. They've got to clean up some things, as you mentioned, because they got number 20 Kentucky coming in on Saturday night. No rest for Florida here. Any major injuries to note, or how do you think they look going into Kentucky this Saturday?
Luckily, so far, nothing major as far as injuries go. They should be all good on that front. Again, right, that's one of the most important things for any team is to come out of your first game without too many guys on the ground. Against Kentucky, again, I don't know, JP. It's again, I think Florida has the tools to beat a team like Kentucky because under Billy's system, they want to run the football. Billy wants to make sure they can control the clock. And by my count, Florida had less than a dozen passes go vertical in that game. Yeah, they took a couple shots downfield, which I was glad to see. But it was the first game, and while you wanted to make sure that you had the ability to demonstrate you could do stuff, you and I both know Mike Norvell, even though he did go into his bag of tricks for that first touchdown by FSU, obviously coaches aren't going to show their entire hand. So I am very interested to see how Billy's going to play with AR against Kentucky. Is he going to let him open up more? Is he going to try to take more vertical shots? Ricky Pearsall, the transfer receiver they got from Arizona State, that kid, he had 4 catches. He had 5 catches on the night. The first 3 of his were all for 10 yards or more in first downs. So again, what this offense really is the embassy stages. Billy knows that AR is great. He is talented. Certainly, I believe that AR does have a lot of room to grow as far as seeing the field, and making some more complicated throws. But those are conversations we'll have after the Georgia, after the A&M game. As of right now, JP, Gator Nation is very happy with the way AR, Billy Napier, and this team performed in Week 1 against Utah.
All right, Chris, great stuff, my friend. We'll catch up with you next week as the Gators get set, or we'll have played Kentucky by then. Another big home game for them. I'm sure it's going to be packed in the swamp. Thanks for your time, partner. Appreciate it.
Hey, always, brother. Hey, enjoy NOLA. Just take care of yourself, all right?
Yeah, well, so far so good. No arrests for me or anybody around me. That's good. All right, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. All right, quick break. When we come back, TJ Pittinger is going to join us from the Double Fries No Slaw podcast, very popular podcast on FSU. So we will recap the FSU game for my friend Jeff Stanislow and many of you others when we come back. Stay with us.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Golden Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Golden Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Golden Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community.
Fire flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799. $99 or Italiano Insurance.
Go! Right now. Back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the Peterson Show. Brought our second Bay Area Modern, BAMMC.com. They've got a special going on right now on their weight loss program. So if you're looking to lean up for football season, well, that's a great place to go. Let Chris Lugo and his medical team take great care of you at BAMMC.com. Just give them a call, get an appointment, and you're on your way to your healthiest ever. It's Bay Area Modern Medical.com. All right, we want our good friend TJ Pittinger, who was here in NOLA with me this weekend of the Double Fries No Slaw podcast, very popular Florida State podcast. What's up, TJ? Did you make it through Bourbon Street in NOLA this weekend?
Well, yeah, Bourbon Street got me for a couple of wins, but the NOLA took care of me on Sunday night. I was doing good. How are you doing, man?
My voice is a little gone, even 48, 36 hours later. It was a hell of an atmosphere in the Superdome. Unlike it actually harkened back to '99 when we won the national championship there. And being that this was in LSU's backyard, you know as well as I do, I haven't seen FSU represent on the road like this since 2013. How was the experience for you?
Man, it was pretty crazy. And you mentioned that, talk about the crowd, but you mentioned that experience in '99 shaped Peter with Pokey catching that ball, being interfered with, just incredible experience. I was worried, and all you heard all week was, this is a home game for LSU. Even if Florida State sold out the lot, this is a home game for LSU. That was a 50-50 crowd. I'm telling you.
Oh, no
Florida
doubt.
State fans showed out, and the team, in their tweets and talking with some of the team and some of the players, they appreciated it. And I don't want to give the team or the fans too much credit for it, but I'll tell you, they made it a lot easier on them kids to go out there and perform with that crowd.
Yeah, I agree. And tell me a little bit about what you heard after the game. I know you're plugged in with a lot of coaches and players. What did you hear after the game, just in terms of how pleased they were with how they played? I mean, obviously it wasn't a perfect game, and we'll get into some of Norvell's decisions as well. But just your general consensus on how the people inside the program are feeling about this win.
Man, I think there's like shock from the fan base that we looked that good for most of the game, but I don't think the team is surprised. I think the team told you guys, and Jamie Robinson said this at ACC Media Days, until we got Kane and we're not overlooking anybody, but we're going to go out and make a statement at LSU game. And he told us that, 4 weeks ago at ACC Media Days, and man, they backed it up. They went out and they told us they were going to be better. They told us this team was different. They told us they were locked in. And for about 55 minutes on Sunday night, they sure did look like it. So I think I think recruits are excited. I think that the team is excited. The staff is excited. But inside that Moore Center, that's what they were expecting to do, and they went out and did it.
TJ, I thought one of the things that really stood out to me was how physical FSU was up front. And I think on both sides of the ball, they owned the line of scrimmage. Now, I expected the FSU defense to be good in the trenches, and I think they definitely dominated. But FSU's offensive line, I mean, from my vantage point, and I was sitting about the 20, 15, 16 rows up, they were moving the pile. They were moving the pile 4 or 5 yards a clip. That was impressive to me. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we hear all the time SEC defensive lines, offensive lines are just different, right? There was a lot of buildup, and there was a lot of questions on how is Florida State's offensive line going to hold up? Can Florida State's defensive line do enough to pressure Daniels? And every question we had about the trenches going into this game got answered on Sunday night. And you're exactly right. They were dominant on both sides of the ball. And that was the difference in the game. They pushed ahead for the run. I think there's a lot of ways you can go with MVP. Hard not to give it to a guy like Jared Verse or Shaheem Brown who blocked kicks that ended up being the difference. But that offensive line, man, you got to take your hats off to that group, because everyone said, all the national guys, all the media, Florida State's not going to be able to block this defensive line. And I know they had an injury there at LSU early in the game, but didn't matter. They shut it down, and they were really impressive all night.
And you mentioned Jared Verse there for a second. I did want to say I thought he was the best player on the field for both sides. I really didn't think it was that debatable. And, there was a lot of talk about him in the offseason. Well, he's not going to be Jermaine Johnson. I tell you what, through 2 games, he looks a lot like Jermaine Johnson, impact-wise. So, you think that's kind of the same way you've seen?
Hey, man, a lot of our fans were upset because, there was only 1 sack in that Duquesne game, and they, oh, man, well, we should have got after him more. Duquesne was throwing the ball really, really quickly and only passed it 6 times in the first half when the starters were in. And so I think it was wait and see, right? Let's get to LSU and let's see how they do against that really, really good offensive line, or what was billed as a good offensive line. And, to go out and get 3 sacks and block a field goal and force countless pressures, Jared Verse is a real deal. And you said he was the best player on the field on Sunday night. I don't disagree with that. There aren't going to be very many games he plays in this year for Florida State that he isn't the best player. Maybe a game here or 2 or there. But, he's going to be the best player on the night most times. And so, he was phenomenal. You hate to give him a first-round tag after game 2, but he keeps that up. He will repeat what Jermaine did.
Well, I might have to disagree with you guys. As good as Jared Verse was, I think Jordan Travis was phenomenal. From where I was sitting, how he escaped many of the pressures, the savvy of which he moved around and threw on some big third downs. He was 8 for 11 for 92 yards on third down. To me, that's why the Noles won this game. They sustained drives and countless times to Johnny Wilson on 3rd and 8. 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 6s, big runs when we needed them. I thought, and this is what I expected Jordan Travis. He's been a hell of a gamer for 2 years with absolutely zero help. And now he's got weapons and he's got at least a competent offensive line. And I thought we saw what was close to a damn, I'm not going to say Heisman performance, but that's as good a performance as I've seen from an FSU quarterback since Jameis Winston. Your thoughts, TJ?
Yeah, we've said that forever, right? He's a gamer. He's scrappy. He makes plays. What all that typically means, he's not a passer. Well, he was a damn good passer on the day.
Yes, he was.
So you add in that with his being a gamer, and man, kid was fantastic. Really, really good. So much poise, so much confidence. Jordan absolutely brought it.
Yeah, I thought the receivers did well too. Johnny Wilson just catching the ball in traffic, my goodness, and then just not going down on key plays. And then how about Pookie Wilson's one-handed catches he's getting interfered with, and Jordan's taking a headbutt to the head. I mean, that was awful. What a play that was.
Yeah, both flags came out, and you're like, please don't let one of these be on us, right? Because as soon as you let go of the ball, you're already looking up in the air. So I didn't see the hit until the replay was shown. But yeah, it was pretty spectacular. Not only by Jordan to stand in there. Last year, I don't know if he does that. I think he might try and duck, not take the hit, and then the timing's all messed up. You don't score there.
Right.
This year, stands in there, takes the hit. Kid gets ejected, rightfully so, right? And man, the concentration to pull that thing in again. Shades of P-Dub in '99 getting interfered with and still catching the ball.
That's exactly what I said. Same end zone too, different side, I think. But I think it was the same end zone. What a catch. That one will go down in history. Now, on the negative side, what the F was Mike Norvell thinking pitching that ball on the 1 foot line? I mean, for God's sakes, quarterback sneak, take a knee, kick a field goal, anything but that. I mean, we go from an absolute lock solid win to, what should have been a tie game in overtime. And I'm not so sure how FSU would have, I'm not going to say they would lose, but their momentum was certainly in LSU's favor. What the hell was Mike Norvell thinking?
Yeah, it was a play that had success earlier. And I'm not defending Mike because he came out this last night and said that he definitely screwed that up and would have done it differently if he could, right? Hindsight's 20/20 on it. It was a play that we had success with earlier on a 2nd and 9. I think we pitched it to Toa Philly and he got 8 yards to set up a 3rd and 1. We ended up scoring on that drive. I think that was the Lundy touchdown that we ended up scoring that drive. And so it was a play that had some success. It was a play that, or maybe it was that same exact drive. No. That was off the muff punt. But it was a play that had some success. And it certainly is a hindsight's 20/20 thing. Like, Mike's got to call a better play there, but players also have to execute. That pitch hit him in the hands. If he catches it, he does walk in. I don't disagree. If you QB sneak it or you just put Lundy back in for another linebacker fullback touchdown, that probably the smarter thing. Again, kneel down, right? And you get the field goal. So I agree. I also see the other side of you got to execute, bad call, but you still got to execute, and so I see both sides. And, what I'm thankful for is that this team found a way to win. And I think last year's team would have found a way to lose. So you learned a hard lesson by losing the game. They were able to learn a hard lesson and still win. Well, that feels a lot sweeter than the inverse.
TJ Pittinger joining us here from the Roll Up Network, Double Fries, No Slop podcast. Must listen if you're an FSU fan. Anything else you took away from this game or that were big things for you?
Yeah, I think the trenches were big. We mentioned Jordan Travis. The wide receivers looked for real. I got to say hats off to the linebackers in the secondary. I think that back seven was really, really good. I think that for the most part of the game, that defense, outside of the two horrendous calls that gave LSU 30 yards on the drive before the final drive, before that drive, they had held LSU to less than 200 yards offense. They didn't have 100 yards rushing or passing at that time. Our defense played phenomenally all night. They even really from the first drive when they bend don't break and they only gave up the field goal, and they were spot on all night. Every question, I'm not saying Florida State's back, and I'm not saying that everything's perfect or everything's good to go, but every question I had about this team got answered on Sunday night. Now they need to put it together. They need to go out and beat a Louisville team that got blown out by Syracuse. You can't have the drop off there, but man, this team's going to compete and they're going to fight their asses off, and they showed that on Sunday, and it was encouraging to see.
And I was going to say, too, it's all about the follow-up. And the schedule, the way it lies, is kind of favorable before they get into, the meat of it, where I think they play, 3 ranked teams in a row. They get, like you said, Louisville, who I think is UCF probably going to have their way with on Friday after Syracuse did. I think that's on the road. And then you come back at home against Boston College, which hasn't been an automatic win in recent years. It used to be. But I guess what I'm saying, am I looking at it too optimistic that I think FSU could be 4-0, believe it or not, after this 4-game stretch?
I don't think that's crazy. And in fact, I think you're going to be a little bit disappointed with a 3-1 record.
Right.
That ends up how it happens. Now, if Louisville comes out and beats UCF by 20 or something, and we say okay, well, that Syracuse game was just a complete fluke. UCF's, Louisville's better than we thought. And that ends up being a close loss. I guess you kind of just shake your head and say, all right, we've got to go beat BC. But BC lost to Rutgers this weekend. You absolutely cannot lose that game. Oh. And then, you want to get crazy? You might play Wake Forest without their quarterback. And so let's see what Wake Forest does the next few weeks. If you go 5-0 into Raleigh, that might be college game day. You upset them, you're playing Clemson, you might have back-to-back game days. We'll see. Maybe I'm getting too high on you got to go beat Louisville. Either way,
exactly.
I'm crazy on other stuff, but go beat Louisville.
Hey, you know what? If the ACC is even more down this year and Louisville sucks and BC sucked and Wake's without their quarterback, you know what? And I saw Clemson play, and their offense doesn't scare me one bit. And FSU certainly went toe-to-toe with Clemson last year. So, having that game's in Tallahassee, right? So, hell, let's really start thinking big now, boys. I know it's only one game, but right now it's setting up like a very good season for FSU. And if Jordan can stay healthy, and the key guys can stay healthy, like Tatum Bethune, we didn't mention him. What a difference he makes on defense. Yeah, I think, we're probably all homers here and everything, but the team I saw the other night dominated LSU. It's like you said, they had 200, didn't even have 200 yards going into the fourth quarter. They dominated. If not for that PI call and that roughing the passer call, that's a 3-score game. And FSU rushing 3 the entire last drive, which makes me freaking crazy. I think we played way better than that score would indicate. So hell yeah. If you're an FSU fan right now, TJ, shoot for the moon. What who cares, right?
We deserve it after the last 5 years of football.
That's for sure.
I think that, there's fan is short for fanatic. And so, I'm going to be fanatical about the way that I'm going to view the rest of the season. Things could happen. Injuries could happen. Misfortune could happen. But there ain't a team on this schedule that scares me. I don't like going into Raleigh. That's always been a tricky place to play. Clemson, Their defense is still really good. AR can do some things with his legs that worry you. I want to see Miami play a real team, but nobody on the schedule scares me. That's not to say we aren't going to have losses. This team's not going undefeated, but they're going to be in every single game they play, and that's something that we haven't been able to say for quite a while.
Exactly. All right, TJ, promote all your great stuff on your podcast and where they can find all your content.
Yeah, so the big one is Double Fries, No Slaw. Again, after Guthrie's, go get a gut box and tell them we sent you. But, Double Fries, No Slaw everywhere. It's part of the Roll Up Network. We have a good time. We go out to a bunch of games and lose our voices and cheer like crazy. So we have fun with it, but yeah, check us out. And it's TJ_Pittinger on social media.
Great stuff, TJ. Thanks for your input here, and enjoyed the tailgate party. We came a little late, got some good jambalaya. The beer was gone. TJ was great. We had a good time. Appreciate that, and we'll catch up with you at the next game. Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely, my man.
Yeah, that their tailgate party was going off. We got there a little bit late because we were enjoying some other libations at other places, but they had a great tailgate party and some jambalaya that was freaking amazing. I tell you what, I have definitely had my full of New Orleans fare this weekend. There's no question about that.
Well, I got to ask you real quick because, I mean, you know how I feel about Nashville. I know how you feel about Nashville. I feel like those two cities are often compared. You've now been to both in a span of 6 months, I believe. So
Yes.
Which one would you rather spend a weekend in?
Nashville. New Orleans it's got a lot of great history. The architecture is amazing. I love all this stuff. Food is fantastic. But it just smells and it's dirty and it's nasty. It just is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It is. And there are places where you just do not feel safe. I went down to Jackson Square yesterday, walking around Bourbon Street. Even in the daytime, it's dicey. I mean, it is really dicey. So yeah, Nashville all day, every day on Sunday. Yeah, it just.
In my other follow-up to that, have you been to Mercedes-Benz before that game?
Oh, the Superdome? Not as a fan. Not as a fan. And I'll tell you this. Sight lines are good. No cup holders on the seats because the seats are so packed in. The concourses are really, really small, very dark. As a fan,
dark, yeah.
And I'll say this, as a fan, and this is going to sound so elitist. You know what? Let's take a break, and I'll save this take for right afterwards on my fan experience. I have to salute fans. I'm going to do a major salute to you fans after this break. So, quick break, and we're back live to New Orleans and Tampa when we come back. Stay with us.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Hi, my name is Mike Warner, a Navy vet. I've had problems with addictions throughout the many decades. Something saved my life, and that is the Hero Mile program.
Hi, I'm Bill Lennox, retired Lieutenant General, United States Army. If you have any challenges in alcohol, drug, If you have PTSD, MST, think about Heroes Mile.
Heroes Mile, a recovery center for veterans by veterans. Call 1-888-VET-NOW2 to learn more or visit heroesmile.com.
Are you concerned your spouse might be cheating or want to locate a long-lost relative or love? Or a missing person and the police are not helping? An insurance adjuster who needs proof of injury. Hi, I'm Rachel D'Antonio from Tampa Bay's premier private investigation agency, Emerging Investigation. We have a proven track record of results. Local attorneys and insurance companies hire us to discover insurance fraud and crucial information in criminal cases. We can help in custody matters, and we devote a tremendous state-of-the-art technology and cutting-edge industry surveillance techniques to get you trusted results. Larger corporate agencies can be more expensive and do not offer the personal level of customer service and interaction that we pride ourselves on. We are a family-owned business. Our professional experience team includes my son, lead investigator Zach D'Antonio, a former collegiate athlete, and my daughter Emily, who leads our in-house investigations team. Don't take matters into your own hands by trying to install snooping programs on phones or GPS trackers. That can cause unneeded stress and give you inaccurate results. Go with the professionals at Emerging Investigations. We have proven results and tremendous testimonials from our satisfied customers. Call for a free consultation and we can discuss how we can help. Peace of mind is as valuable as bad news. Just go to our website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's emerginginv.com. We're Emerging Investigations. We get results in life's biggest matters.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
Ramos, who might be the most nervous person in the Superdome right now. Roy to snap, Bramlett to hold, to send it to free football. Snap, spot, blocked! Yeah! It's no good! Yeah! It's blocked! Shaheed Brown got his men on it! Fire up the war chant and plant the spear! Knowles win! Knowles win! Mike Norvell, you have your signature win early on in non-conference play.
That's the Florida State Radio Network. I apologize. I forgot the name of the new play-by-play guy, but that was William Floyd in the background there as well. I actually got a chance to chat with him at Pat O'Brien's. Very nice guy. Did a nice job on that call. He had to make a big call in his first big game for FSU. So well done there.
I know. It was so weird when I saw the radio call and I was expecting to hear Gene's voice.
Yeah,
and
I know, right?
It was not Gene, but something we're going to have to get used to. But I think it's a great debut for, I think it was Jeff Colhane, correct?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Jeff Colhane from North Dakota State. He came down. So quite the moment for him. Jeff Colhane. It's just his second game at Florida State.
Let me see if I can give my little college try here at Whit Deckerhoff, what it sounded like. Ramos enters the LSU. He's always very like low key on the, before big things happen for some reason. He'll be like, Ramos for the extra point. Yeah, it's a snap again. It's blocked! Blocked! Seminoles gonna win! Seminoles gonna win! Something like that.
And always followed by William Floyd going absolutely nuts next to him. So that has not gone, but great call.
Yeah, that was, the lovely Ashley, who was at her first game, her first major college football game was, first of all, we had to stand up the entire game. So I'll give you my little fan rant here in a second. And she's not the most gifted in the height area. So I'm not sure how much of the game she got to see, but enough because our seats were pretty good. But she was sitting down on the blocked extra point. But the whole time, as I'm sitting there going, we just blew this effing game. We just blew, and they're rushing three, and they're going down. She's like, we're going to win. She's sitting in her seat going, we're going to win. We're going to win. And I'm like, she's always right. And she was right. They won. Let's get. And she knew the blocked extra point was coming. She read the tarot cards here at Jackson Square, and it said they were going to win. So that's all that matters. So, all right. So getting into the game was an absolute effing nightmare. They had, I don't know how many ticket takers they had, but it wasn't nearly enough because we got in line a full half hour before the game and almost missed kickoff. And, people were streaming down there the whole time. And there was about 3 major, I guess, ingress points, and the people that were checking the electronic tickets had no idea what they were doing. And it was so backed up. And finally, when we got to the front, there was one guy with our ticket taker. One guy was having an issue on his phone, like so many people do. They don't download the tickets into their wallet like they should. So people just started streaming by. Like we never even scanned our tickets. People just start streaming by because, I mean, if you were at that point of the line anyway, you had to have a ticket. I mean, you wouldn't have walked up and waited in a half-hour line just to get there and not be able to get in. So whether there were a lot of counterfeit tickets or whatever was going on, something was bad and people just weren't getting it. So people, they just everybody just started streaming in. Nobody got their tickets scanned at all. And so once we got in there, the seats are so tight. Getting drinks was pretty easy. Those lines weren't very long because they had bars all over the place. But just getting in, they had a big tailgate party outside that was just completely overcrowded. It was like, I don't know how you fans do it. I really don't. That's the first time I've been to a game as a fan in the Superdome, and the waiting in line outside. It was not good. It was not good. But I know I sound like a complete wuss. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot as a fan, and I salute you guys for what you go through to get to games. And standing. I don't mind standing up the whole game. That's not a thing for me because there were enough TV timeouts. Good God, there were enough TV timeouts in this game. It felt like we were sitting down a lot, just waiting for the action to go. Like I don't know what it's like on TV. But at a game, at one of these big college football games, it seems like they add an extra commercial break every quarter, and they're all like 3 minutes long. It's brutal.
It's horrendous. It's horrendous. I remember when we went to that Notre Dame game last year, and that's like the first time I was paying attention to that clock on the field. I feel like it constantly said 4 minutes, and I'm like, why do we need a 4-minute break?
It's too much.
Commercial. That's why the games are so long. Like at the end there, it's like you're in like the middle of like these two teams going at it, and everybody in the crowd's going crazy. And then they step aside, and it kind of takes the air out of like whatever room you're in watching.
Yeah.
Because you're like so into it, then you got to reinvest when it comes back. So I think college football has the worst problem with that. Inopportune breaks all the time.
Yeah, it's almost like watching a damn NBA game at the end. It gets tired. I mean, I guess for the players, but it definitely does take it, the momentum out of it. If you get a big play and it's a commercial break, or they're, even at the end there where they're looking at that last play, it's brutal. It's brutal. But so from a fan standpoint, salute, hats off, man. It's I'm telling Ashley, I'm like, normally when I'm here at the Superdome, see that little entryway over there, they drop you off in a bus with a police escort, and then we walk in and take the elevator up to the press box. We're so freaking spoiled. But so hats off to all you fans. I don't know how you do it on a weekly basis. God love you. All right, let's get into the Rays a little bit, my friend. You were tapped into the Rays this weekend. I saw the big comeback. I was following the score yesterday, and they're down to the Red Sox. And after taking 2 from the Yankees and then losing the 2-1 on Sunday, a game you probably should have won and got hosed on at the end, but still should have scored more runs. You don't want to come back and lose one to the Red Sox, which you were about to do. And Manny Margot came up with, again, call him now, Margot ahead. Margot ahead, because every time he gets ahead, they go, well, at least this one, they tied it up.
Margot bats against the drawn-in infield and sends one into right center field. That's going to be in there. Extra bases. Bruin scores to tie the game. Margot now to second with a double, and he's in scoring position. 3-3 ball game.
Another huge hit by Manuel Margot, and we missed him for 2.5 months. Good God, but the Rays survived those and are now right back in this hunt for the division lead. And then it was David Peralta, a deadline deal that was kind of under the radar that has just reaped huge benefits for the Rays, and he comes up with the game winner.
Ground ball, that's a fair ball. Up the right side beyond the bullpen. Margot scores the go-ahead run. Peralta in at second with a double. Rays lead 4-3.
And they made that stand up for a big 4-3 win. And now they're a 5 back or 4.5 back? What are they back now?
I believe they went back to being 5 back
Five
in
game.
Yankees because the Yankees got one back there, and then they won yesterday against the Twins, so it's 5 back. But a great win for the Rays. And pitching is just, I mean, this is a phenomenal pitching group the Rays have. Like that's not news to anybody. But in that Yankee series, we talked about it. You know, who do you have to worry about? And you were like, oh, obviously Aaron Judge. But the Rays had pitched Aaron Judge pretty well. In that series, though, and this is happening in every game the Yankees play, it's Aaron Judge and everybody else. He scored every run. The Yankees only had 3 runs in that series. 3 runs. And Aaron Judge had all of them. So you basically were just playing Aaron Judge. So, yeah, it's a little disappointing they weren't able to get something across on Sunday.
So why did we pitch to him on Sunday?
I don't know. Why is anybody pitching? He hit another home run yesterday.
Right.
I mean, he's got 54 now. It's insane. But, yeah, I wish they would have gotten the sweep against the Yankees, and it got a little, heated on Sunday for a little bit. Josh Donaldson.
He's a jackass.
Is he a Yankee or what?
He's a total Yankee.
I mean, he's chirping Jeffrey Springs because he wants a fastball. He gets his fastball later in the game, and he strikes out. I mean, the Rays were doing a great job on Twitter of trolling Josh Donaldson because he can't hit. He's not good anymore. He's 36 years old, making more than the entire Rays team, and he's awful. He's awful, and he's so arrogant. He takes on the entire what the Yankees are. They're just a bunch of overpaid, old, arrogant guys. That's all they are. I mean, my hatred for the New York Yankees grows every single series they play them.
Right. Thank you, Josh Donaldson, for bringing back the old Yankee way, because that's what you guys are, a bunch of spoiled, entitled brats. And that's what they are. They're not the Bronx Bombers. They're like spoiled, entitled brats. Throw me a fastball. Why? I mean, you can't hit that either, but
he threw you one. You did nothing with it, Josh. And then he gets mad because I think Armstrong let one go and it almost hit him, and he wants to get in his face. And,
oh my God!
Again, what have you done to earn the right to be like that, Josh? In a Yankee uniform, what have you done?
It's been a while. It's been a while.
You're right.
Yeah, you know what? Since they suffered a few injuries, they've been less than 500. They've been awful.
They're awful.
I mean,
they showed a side-by-side graphic this morning on Get Up or whatever. Aaron Judge leads all of Major League Baseball in OPS, average, home runs, RBIs, everything since the All-Star break. The Yankees as a ball club are like bottom 3 in baseball without Aaron Judge in all those categories since the All-Star break. They're nothing without this guy. They're nothing.
Yeah, it gives me hope because I don't think the Yankees are going to get any better. And yeah, they might win the division. I still think the Rays have a good shot at that. And imagine if they got, I know ifs and buts, candy and nuts, but that walk-off grand slam, a 3-run lead up at Yankee Stadium, the Rays should have won that game. And if they win the Sunday, hell, there would be one back. I think it'd be one back. So, all right, but that's okay. I still think the Rays got a shot at the division. I think they should at least hold on to the coveted first wild card spot. That's going to be important as well. But I don't think the division is out of order at all.
No,
I think they have a shot to win it.
They still get the Yankees. If you recall, they get them on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week in Yankee Stadium. So, but the Rays, they need to take business against the Red Sox. The Red Sox, we know, are going absolutely nowhere. Tonight, we're going to get Rich Hill again, who was fantastic last time against the Rays. But, we're counting on Drew Rasmussen, who has been the best, or if not at least the best pitcher in the American League over the month of August. I hope he carries it into September. So I like my chances there for the Rays. And yeah, it was a great weekend for them. And of course, Tyler Glasnow on Wednesday goes to AAA to get his first rehab outing in. A little bit of a scare yesterday. I don't know if you saw, Wander Franco was supposed to play 7 innings.
Yeah.
Comes out after 5, and they said he felt it in his hand a little bit after the second at bat. Interesting enough, I saw Rich Hollenberg put on Twitter they were already planning on bringing him up for this Yankee series. And this weekend, Durham has a day off today, so we'll see if he's back in the lineup because, I don't want any more setbacks with Wander Franco. I'd love to have him by this Yankee series like they plan to.
Well, he was 2 for 4 in the comeback. This is kind of, I don't know. It kind of goes to where is Wander Franco on the pain management scale? Where is he on the I want to play scale? Because everything we've seen has been I want to play. He wanted to play through the injuries early on this season, maybe to his detriment. So I don't think this is a deal where, it's just, hey, you got to get through the pain a little bit. Because when you got a broken hand, scar tissue et cetera, et cetera. You got to play through a little bit of the scar tissue, but also if it's not healed and the x-ray, I mean, they're saying they don't even need to take x-rays. They take all the x-rays they want. It's healed and he should be able to play. Is this, just scar tissue? What is this?
Well, he voluntarily took himself out of the game in the 5th inning. So that's a little bit of a different thing there. So, I mean, who knows what's going on with him, but we can't afford any more setbacks. It's going to get to a point, as we've discussed, where you have to consider, is it just best to shut him down? Maybe you get him back at the end of the year or what? Because this can't keep happening where he keeps going on rehab trips and he can't make it without a game without coming up with some kind of ding.
Totally agree. So, but, at this point, do we want to force him back? I mean, where is he going to play? Whose spot he's taking? I mean, I know it's Wander Franco, but,
I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, we got Jonathan Aranda, by the way, who again is so great with the bat. We did see why the Rays maybe have not used him much in the big leagues. We talked about his fielding. I said last week, and I'll eat some crow here. I said all I need you to do is field a ground ball.
Right.
The Rays put him at second during a game, and he booted an easy ground ball, and that was I was like, oh yeah, well I feel awful now because I literally said all I need you to do is field a ground ball, and he wasn't able to do that. So then I understand why the Rays keep him where he's been. Because if you can't field a ground ball, I guess they have no way for him. But interesting enough, G-Man Choi is still scuffling, and I heard he had a conversation with Kevin Cash and about his struggles. And Cash said, we're gonna work with you through this, but we're only gonna use you at certain spots. So it sounds like G-Man Choi is completely out of the rotation at the moment.
Yeah, but he's still on the team. You can't be taking up a roster spot like this,
Well, that's what I'm saying. I know tough
pull
decisions.
a hammy for God's sakes.
Tough decisions are going to have to be made. I don't know if G-Man Choi, I know he's a fan favorite, but right now the Rays have a surplus of players and he's just not cutting it right now. Could he be a surprise move off the 40-man roster when they get some of these guys back? I think it's a possibility.
Well, I don't think you can put him on the playoff roster at this point.
No, you can't. You just can't.
Yeah, you got to find, somebody to play first base, and you'd like it to be a lefty,
They can put Aranda at first base.
That's what I'm talking about.
First base.
Yeah. That's something I'd like to see him start working on now before the playoffs to see how that works. Because, man, if you could get – Aranda's a 300 hitter. That's what he is. And when he was up early, he barreled up the ball. So if he can start playing first base and give us some pop from there, that's just an extra bat in the lineup. And then, Franco can come back. Glasnow is going to pitch in AAA, on Wednesday? I think tomorrow. Yeah. So it's trending up for the Rays. Hey, real quick before we get out of here, we love you guys when you post on YouTube. Always, you can watch us on YouTube and post on Facebook on our YouTube. We'll put them up here. Joe F. chiming in on our Gator conversation. People forget this is the same team that went toe-to-toe with Alabama. They quit on Mullen after that game. Would agree with that. Richie P., I tried to watch, but Yankees and Rays was on, and that was it for me. Yesterday, I noticed one of their wide receivers signed up for the transfer portal. Yeah, Keyshawn Butte.
That's USF he's talking about.
Oh, he's talking about USF. Okay.
Yes.
And also said USF needs to win to bring him in, to bring the fans in. That's true. I get it. But, I'm here to tell you, as a fan base, USF, when college football, it doesn't work that way. The fans got to show up before the recruits come in this situation. And I know it's hard to do when you've won 3 games in 20 years. I know it's hard, but y'all need to rally around USF. If you're a USF fan, you got to push it. You got to keep it until it turns.
My point was that we looked up at tickets for USF last week. They were $10 or $15 to get there, $30 to sit on the sideline. If you're a USF fan on Saturday, what else were you doing? You're not going to get a better game to go to this year in that stadium, other than the UCF game probably, and at that cheap of a ticket.
It's college football, for God's sakes. I don't know. If the fans show up, it's going to help you, and it's going to help the entire team. And they didn't show up on Saturday, and that was the time they could have done so. So I'm sure the fans can blame Jeff Scott, but you guys ain't helping either. Jeff Stanislow, what's up, gents? Tuned in for the FSU recap. Hope you like the crazy finish pitch was a poor decision for sure. Yeah, Mike, if they lose that game, boy, Mike Norvell, I heard Shannon Sharp talking about you fire him on the spot. Well, that's just stupid. That's stupid. But if they'd have lost that game, I'm telling you what, there would be a lot of questions about Mike Norvell's game management because it wasn't good in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Shows how bad Grantham was as a DC for UF. Yeah, the old and Grantham has been good and bad in a lot of situations in college football, mostly bad from my experience. But yeah, the Gator coaching staff looks really stupid right now in a lot of ways. Joe F has 3 running backs out for the UF game. I didn't know that. Advantage Gators. And more UF versus FSU be a good game this year. Florida football is looking for a lot better than was everyone thought. Yeah, that game's on a Friday in Tallahassee. My son was up here this weekend with me, and we did our annual away game we've done almost every year pre-COVID. So we're going to get that tradition going back. And that was one we'll never forget. So as I put on Twitter, I don't remember a whole lot of games I watch on the couch, but I remember every one that I'm at, especially big games like that. So as tough as and hard as it was as a fan to go, I'm glad I went. My voice is still gone. It was a hell of an experience. Loved every minute of it. Thanks, FSU, for showing up and getting a big win. Our thanks to TJ Pittinger, who joined us today, Chris Pinson from WCJB, and Scott Reynolds. If you missed any of that, you can go back on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe, please, and watch us on YouTube and comment there, and also on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you again from Tampa Bay tomorrow.